Hey scrapbookers and crafters, this is Michelle at michellesizemore.com with one L in my first name for my website link. I'm a Creative Memories advisor, and today you'll learn how to make this cute fall card using our new 2025 Creative Memories fall products. Okay, I'm going to set this aside and grab all the stuff I used to make this card. Now, first of all, you can use a pre-made card that's blank from Creative Memories. You can buy a box of these and they come with matching envelopes. I am out of the blank ones, but I just picked a blank one from our birthday card kit and it's the same size. So you could use that, or you could make your own out of another color of cardstock, which is what I did. Now, just for teaching purposes, I went ahead and drew my pencil lines for where I'm going to cut. I opened up my card. You can just open it and measure it to see, but let's do this. So it is, just to show you, eight and a half inches by 5.5 inches. All right, so let's cut that with the trimmer. I'm going to open up the arm, pull out my little foot. That makes everything level. My extra measuring space. And the first thing I want to do is cut it long ways, and I'm going to cut it at 8.5 inches. I'm going to line it up at the 8.5 inch mark. And just to double check, I don't always draw these pencil lines and things. I just wanted, for the sake of the video, to make sure I do it right. This line is going to be on the left-hand side dotted line of my mat strip. You can also see it up here. Your cutting line is always on that left-hand side dotted line. And this has 4 dotted lines on it, which means you can flip it and get 4 uses out of it. So if your dotted lines start to fade or indent, it's time to flip it and pick another one. So, but as long as you have a good, clean left-hand side dotted line. So this is matching up with my pencil line right here. So I'm going to cut that and set this aside for another use. And then I need to line it up at the 5.5 inch mark. And my pencil line is going to be right here. Now, some people get a little confused. The 5.5 inch mark is literally that line right there, which is right at the edge of your trimmer before you pull out your extension arm. So it's right there. So you can also look at that crease right there. But I drew a line just to make sure. But it does match up perfectly with that little line right there at the edge of your trimmer. And I'm going to cut that. And then I'll set these aside to use on another project. Okay, so now I have my card. Now I want to score my card at 4.25 inches. So I'm going to just measure that with my ruler just to double check. And I want it to be at 4.25. Now I would not use a pen on my actual card. I'm just doing that for the video. I should have used a pencil. I can erase that, but I can always tuck it under on the inside. Now, I want to close up my arm because I don't need it now and grab my score blade. I'm also going to grab my decal blade because I'm going to use that in a few minutes. But right now, we're going to use the orange score blade. I'm going to open up my housing unit by flipping that little thing that sticks down, that little part right there, and just put my curvy side down and close it up. I want to line my pen mark up at that left-hand side dotted line because that's where my blade's going to go down. And that's right there in the middle of my card. Now, this is cardstock and it's thicker than our regular designer paper. So I want to make sure I get a good score indentation. I'm going to press firm, but not hard. Just kind of firm with the palm of my hand and go down. And go back up and down. Maybe 6 or 8 times. And I'm just pressing a little bit firm. Okay, so I feel like I've got a good score line now, right there at that pen mark. And now I can bend my card at the score line. And it's good. Okay, now I'm going to take this out and set my blades aside, set my pretend card aside, and I need to just fold this a little tiny bit better. There we go. I'm good with that. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is use my decal blade. Put that in curvy side down and grab my green paper. This is from our new fall collection. I've got to look at the name of it. It's called Grateful Harvest. So there's a pack of paper that's just all plaid on one side and this monochromatic textured look on the other. I love the colors in this. So this green paper is from here. I'm also using a yellow and orange paper from there. And this purple paper is actually from our Croctoberfest kit. Okay, so I kind of mixed those up a little bit. All right, now I wrote myself a Post-it note. I need to cut this to 1.5 by 5.5. Now, I don't need my decal blade yet. Sorry, I was a little premature doing that. So, I'm actually going to cut this slightly longer than 5.5 because you'll see why after I do it. I want to make sure I have a good clean edge though before I start this. So let's do that. And I would actually save that because I can use that as something later. Okay, so my good clean edge is going to go at the top. And I want this to be 5.5 inches wide. Our 5.5 inches right there, the line is like right there where that crease is, where your extension arm and your trimmer meet. So, but I'm going to cut it just slightly wider than that, and I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, there we go. I'll save that scrap. I save all my scraps. Now I'm going to change to the decal blade. Flip that open. Take that out. Put this in curvy side down. And now I want to cut this 1.5 inches tall. So I'm going to flip it this way and line it up at the 1.5 inch mark. I need a straight edge on it and then a decal edge. So I'm going to make sure it's lined up with that grid line all the way down. And if you want this wider, you can actually make it wider if you want. So now I have my decal edge. I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of got a little rough edge. And I chose that one because I think it looks a little bit more like grass than a straight cut. Okay, so here's my sample. Here's my card. And I am going to pull out this little, this is a little mat that I got from Creative Memories. I cut it down to make it smaller for smaller projects. But I just use my repositionable tape runner on this mat because it repels it and it doesn't stick to my table. So I want to take my repositionable tape runner, pointy side down, and you always, the down part, this white thing always goes down, okay? So, and then you press the pointy side down and pull toward you. And I just need some little dabs of this. And I always craft with my repositionable tape runner. I love it so much. And now I just want to mount this at the bottom front of my card. Now it's going to be slightly wider, and that's okay. Remember I said to cut it a little bit wider than 5.5 inches. That's just to make sure that I end up with it right up next to the card. So I'm going to flip it over and just cut this off flush against the card. And then I know it's perfect to fit on that card. Just in case I got a little off on measuring my card or something. Always cut it from behind. Okay, so now I have the grass on my card. The next thing I want to do is to cut my wagons. And this is our new wooden wagon punch. And I'm going to grab some brown cardstock. And I wrote on here to punch 2 wooden wagons. Now the reason I want to punch 2 is because when this punches out, it's really small. So I want to punch 2 and then piece them together. I just figured that out playing around with this. So I'm going to put this in here and punch 1 and 2. Where'd you go? Oh, there it is. And get rid of my scraps. Throw these away. I'll save that scrap to use on something else. Okay, so now I have 2 of these little pieces. Now what I need to do is mount them together. And I'm going to save this little piece right here to use on something else. I mean, to use on this at the end. So I'm going to just cut that little piece off. Okay, and save it. Now I'm going to cut along this straight line right here so that I can piece this together well. And I'm going to do the same here. Well, I'm going to actually leave my lines on that one. Yeah, so I think, yeah, I want to actually cut these little excess pieces off, but leave my line that like completely solid. So now is when I need to use this so I won't get adhesive on my table. And I'm just going to piece these 2 together. I want my wheels facing out to make it look like a wagon. And then I'm just going to mount this on top of here. So I'm going to put a little repositionable tape runner on that middle piece right there and just mount these together. Rub off my little extra little clear dots. This is so much easier to use because if I was using a regular tape runner, it comes out like in little white strips. It's much harder to work with because it would show. So now I have a long wagon just by piecing 2 of those together. And at the end, I'll add on my little tailgate, whatever you call that piece, the piece that would go onto the car or the tractor. Okay, so now I have my wagon. Now, I want to have some color behind my wheels so that the color behind it doesn't show through. That is using beige cardstock. And I played around. I love to play around with my punches and figure out some unique ways to use them and my Boilermaker cartridges. So this is the cartridge holder that goes with the Boilermaker system. I'm going to put this cartridge holder in here. This is called Cyclic Circles, and it's the perfect size circle for what I need. I'm going to put it in. Now, this normally goes with a 12-inch paper holder if you want to cut a 12-inch border, but I just need a couple of punches, so I can use this like a standalone punch. So I'm going to put my beige cardstock in here and punch. I just really need 1, but I'm going to punch 2 just in case I have any issues with that. Okay, so I need 2 of these little round pieces. So I'm going to kind of scoop away these excess pieces. I will save them in my bin because I do have an idea of what I could use this for. Now I want to mount these little circles behind my wheels. So I'm going to put some repositionable tape runner on the back of my wheels and then just put these circles, and they're the perfect size to fit in there, to fill in the holes, but not stick out past the brown. So I'll show you from the other side. Okay, there you go. So that makes my wheels look a little bit more defined. Now I want to put some color behind here so that what's behind it doesn't show through. So I am going to cut a piece of this craft paper. This is a cardstock we have. It's just craft colored, to 2 inches by 1/2 inch. So I'm going to grab my trimmer. I'm going to add my straight blade back in here. Open that up, take it out, didn't mean to throw it, stick it down, and cut this by 2 inches by 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna go to 1/2 inch right here. I'm gonna line it up with the 1/2 inch mark. Let's do the 2 inch first. Let's line it up with the 2 inch mark and cut. and then flip it and line it up at 1/2 inch. Let's do it on this side. A 1/2 inch right here. It's easier on that side. And make sure it's straight at the top. And my blade's going to come down on that little dotted line. I don't know if I did that right or not. Let's see. Yeah, well, no, it needs to actually be longer. I don't know where I got 1/2 inch from. I'm going to go ahead and mount this, but then I'm going to add another little piece behind, okay? So basically, I'm just trying to make sure that there's color behind my open pieces, okay? So I'm going to flip this over and just generously put some tape runner, repositionable, of course. I always use that to craft back there. And then I'm just going to mount this so that it goes all the way behind and covers up those open pieces, but make sure it doesn't stick out past my brown on the side. So I think that's perfect for that top part. Yeah, see? Not sure why. Oh, there was a little colored piece there. I just need to move it off. So I'm going to mount this back. Now I just need to make sure I also have a little piece under here. I just didn't account for that, I guess. So I'm going to just freehand that. I'm going to look at it and draw a line where I want it to stop and cut that. You just sometimes have to play with this, and then I'm going to cut it a little bit. I just need it to fit right there, but not stick out past my dark brown, okay? Which I think that's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to put some tape runner here and use my repositionable, of course, and then mount that there. So now I have my little wagon with my wheels and my color behind there. It looks kind of like maybe dirt, like a wagon full of dirt or something, or just anyway. And then I have my wagon the way I want it to add my flowers on the top. So so here we go. I'm going to mount down my wagon right here. So I'm going to put my repositionable tape runner here. I'm going to leave it the top, like I'm not going to put tape runner on the very top because I want to kind of be able to stick these mums down in there. So I'm going to mount that about right there. You know, if you wanted it centered, you could do it, but I kind of wanted it off center a little bit. Okay, and the next thing I need to do is cut some of my mums. Now, the only mum size I used was this middle one. I mean, this, yeah, the middle sized one. So let me open up my punch, grab my colors. And I definitely want to use scraps on this as much as I can because I don't want to waste my paper. So I had some little bitty scraps of this yellow. Now, what I want to do is flip it over backwards. I only need this one. So I just want to make sure that there's enough paper behind that one. I don't care about these two. There we go. And then I can punch a few more. It's a great use of your scraps. Okay, and I didn't have any scraps of this orange. Well, this is a scrap. It's just a big scrap. Sorry. And I'm going to cut a few of those. Again, I'm just going to go to the part that I need to cut instead of wasting it. Okay. And then I've got a few orange ones, a few yellow ones. Yellow. I probably cut more than I need, but that's okay. I love these watercolory papers because it gives a textured look to my mums. Okay, now this is the purple. I don't love that it has the stitching on it because I really just wanted a solid purple, but rather than using a brighter cardstock, I want it to kind of blend well with these. I'm going to use this, but I'm going to position my punch so that there's a good solid purple area at the top. let me explain, so that like I could tuck it underneath and it looks more solid. Okay, so I'm going to cut a number of those just to make sure I have them, you know, where they look right, like I want them to look. You could use a cardstock. There's a cardstock that goes with this collection, but I just wanted to use paper. And really, by the time you get these together, that little stripe doesn't hardly show up. Okay, so, all right, I'm going to set that aside. So now I have 3 colors. And I'm going to throw away all these little scrappy pieces. I don't think of anything I want to do with those. It's got a little tape runner behind it. Just get those out of the way. Get this out of the way. Now, I use this spring leaf punch to get these little tiny leaves, okay? And let me just show you. I'm going to open this up, and I don't need a 12-inch border, so I'm not going to show you exactly how to measure and stuff to use this. I just need a few little green leaves. So I'm going to just put this in here. I need to make sure it's wide enough. It is. And just punch a couple. That's probably enough. If it's not, I can punch a couple more. Okay, so we set all this extra aside. I'm actually going to throw that away, those pieces away, but save this piece. I love my scraps. Okay, so now I'm going to take my micro scissors and just this smallest leaf on here, I'm going to cut them off first. I need, you know, maybe 4 of them. I'm not going to cut them all. I'm just, I would punch enough of these to where I know I had 4 of these little leaves. And then I just kind of round it off to make it look right. Let's do one more. Actually, that one looks fine. Well, I need to round it here just a tad. Okay, so you get the idea. Now, there we go. Now, I just want to add my mums. And I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to show you how I did it. I'm going to grab my repositionable tape runner, grab my little mums. I wonder if I have a lifter stick. Yeah, I have a lifter stick. This lifter stick's awesome. You can grab little things and pick them up instead of like having to wet your finger, which is kind of gross. That works, but I don't like it. Okay, I love this lifter stick. Okay, let me set this aside. Now, on the other side of my mums, and I'm just going to kind of go and look at what I did here. This purple one is right here, and I'm going to put some tape runner back there, and then just mount that. And I do want the purple to show through that little top part. Okay, so I'm going to lift this up and kind of put it between my dark brown cardstock and my craft paper cardstock, just to kind of look like it's coming out of the top. And then I'll do a yellow one. I'm going to be pretty generous with my tape runner on the back. Now, see how that white stripe is right there? You hardly notice it, but I am going to overlap my yellow there because I don't want it to look like there's a stripe in there. And you can still see a little bit of it, but it just kind of gives a little texture. And then I'll grab my orange one and tuck it back here. I just trimmed my fingernails, so it's kind of hard to get back there. Okay, you get the idea. And then I would just put a bunch of my mums, and then I would just put some tape runner on the back of these little leaves. And I would stick those in random places where I want them to go. Like that. Stick another one there, there, there. And then kind of make it look like some mums are falling off of the wagon. You could also, like if you had a pumpkin punch or something, you could do pumpkins. You could make this idea look like any season. Like in spring, you could use more spring colors. And then this birthday wishes, I just got that off of an old Creative Memories sticker that we had, and just cut around it and put it there. You could make it be anything. It could be with sympathy, or it could say thank you, you know, whatever sentiments you have. And I'll be honest, Creative Memories doesn't have a ton of sentiments, so sometimes I'll buy those at different places when I see them. I often do multi-vendor scrapbook events, and I have a friend who vendors at a scrapbook store, and I'll buy those from her, and she'll buy punches from me. You know, we help each other out. So, you know, just get those wherever you can. Okay, so that is how to make an easy fall card using some of our new 2025 fall products, our punches, and our papers. Thanks so much for watching my video, and I hope y'all have a great fall and a wonderful day. Bye.